Ciao mondo, hello world, hola mundo, hello monde, konnichiwa, ni hao. We're here today waiting for news about coronavirus infection, and we just would like to communicate how we manage our PD program in this crisis. In particular, we have set up a kind of an algorithm for patients on PD, and specifically we have three different options. Suspicion of COVID-19 at home, suspicion of COVID-19 on spontaneous arrival at the hospital for any type of complication or problem, and finally suspicion of COVID-19 while in the ward. The first case, suspicion of COVID-19 at home, the first recommendation for the patient is stay at home, do not come to the hospital, contact the center for instruction, and then go to triage center. There is a swab team in the hospital as instructed by the personnel of the dialysis center. At this point, we have different options. The patient may be sent home and asked to be isolated until we see whether or not the swab is positive. Or the patient can be hospitalized in case of confirmation of symptoms and positive swab and sent to the infectious department. In this case, we need to manage PD or APD in that department, and once the complication and symptoms are resolved, hopefully, the patient may be sent back maintaining the isolation. If the patient is sent back directly home because symptomatology is not severe, in any case, we intensify our remote patient management with the different platforms like ShareSource or others that allow us to bidirectionally communicate with the patient. The second case is a patient that spontaneously arrived to the hospital and we have a suspicion for COVID-19, and at this patient we need to triage the patient outside the ward. Single evaluation of a physician is required, and then we evaluate the reason for arrival. Is it a PD complication or is it other symptoms? In any case, it should go to the triage center in the hospital as instructed by the physician, once again, having the swab team taking the samples, and finally, looking at these possibilities. One, if the complication for which the patient has come to the hospital is not solvable or not resolved, the patient should be hospitalized if confirmed infection and sent to the infectious disease department, where we will manage the PD and the complication. If the complication is resolved, the patient should be sent back to maintain isolation at home, and we intensify, once again, the remote patient management. The third option is suspicion of a COVID patient who was admitted previously to the ward for different reasons. We, of course, alert the swab team. We separate the patient from others. Personnel wear protective measures, and we treat the patient as a suspected positive until swab response. Once we have the response, if the patient is negative, he will stay in the ward, but we maintain the previous isolation because we are not sure whether or not he may develop positivity in a second step. Or, if positive, he should be transferred to the infectious disease department, and at that point, in any case, PD is managed either at home or at the infectious disease department. Once everything is complicated, the patient stays there. Once the patient has solved the problems, is sent home, he maintains the isolation, especially for respect to the caregivers and the members of the family, and we intensify our remote patient management. Well, we have implemented the specific recommendation and prescription changes using ShareSource device or using telephone, using different ways of communicating to the patient. We have a distinct active or passive surveillance depending whether the patient is severely complicated or not. And finally, we have also a model for management of peritonitis that includes possibility of one single access to the center for confirming the diagnosis and then continuing treatment at home. I think this is a policy that has been established since the very beginning here, and this allowed us so far to have only one patient positive over 130 patients, and the positivity was confirmed at home. The patient had the swab team at home, and she is staying at home, and now after 14 days she is declared completely healed. Hopefully we will stay safe in this way, and maybe tomorrow we will do another cappuccino showing how the triage is for the hemodialysis patient. With this, I thank you very much for today's cappuccino, and be safe with COVID-19. Cappuccino made by Laria, very good, excellent.